blue cat. That'd be kind of cool. Bright blue cat with long hair cat. Bright blue with like purple tips. Which is your favorite cat? And I bet that's the orange one, but I'm guessing. Can you find a name to put for whatever reason? Because of the color, is it a big cat? Yeah, long tail. Sort of skinny long cat. Does it sneak around like a tiger?
Yeah, she looks like a tiger with no black hair.
I figured that's what it sounded like to me. What color eyes?
You can walk up and take this with, I don't know if
Like copper.
Yeah, old copper. That'd be nice. Pretty orange cat.
Yeah, that's right.
they can't see it, they can't see it.
That's cool when they have blue eyes. I think it's weird how they don't have circles in the middle. They have that kind of
My foot? Yes.
like a diamond.
Yeah, Theo's, that's our leopard, climbing leopard looking cat.
Well, that's not going to work.
I got you. I got it.
Well, I don't want to. Yeah,
Watch.
yes.
That long hair.
I was like,
I got it.
We are new cat.
that's actually really good because that has the whole shebang.
Well, that's fun.
So that's good.
He just has to talk from this side. He cannot stand on the other side at
Yes.
all.
Yes. It is live too. So watch the link.
I just noticed your mom has cat-eye glasses. So she's a cat too. Well, that's two of the three.
You'll see one.
Oh, it's like one of those things where you have to find all the things in the picture. I didn't see the third one. Oh wow, you described him very, very well. Thanks for showing.
That's our new one now at the bottom.
I figured that. Nice. What's that? Yes. Very nice.
Her real name's Cleopatra.
Cleopatra, that's a good cat name.
She likes to hide in bags.
Nice.
That's so cute. A little shopping bag station.
Like, what's up? She did this.
I'm sure to check bags in the I know, right? Here's our new
Mommy got it for you right there. What's your plate?
You want a blue cookie?
Come here.
Don't kick that.
Can I have this one? I'm regretting You got me popcorn. I got Doritos.
Did it fall out?
It's upside down. Emma, you're on TV right now.
Check. Okay, making sure the microphone cable wasn't going on. Hi, everybody. Hi. I know. It's the same problem we have upstairs in the sanctuary, where you can think you're in a great position to participate in worship, and then you realize you're going to spend the whole time ducking around pillars. We have the same problem downstairs. So let me recommend you're welcome to move seats, keep moving, get fed, get seconds, whatever, while we're talking today, okay? So first of all, thank you all for, is that mic cable going out? Am I cutting in and out on that? Give me 2 seconds. I have a backup, I think.
It's fine. It's not that bad. It's just that one little time.
That one's worse.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to try and hold it. And anybody else who needs to use it, you're going to have to kind of hold it in. I think the connection's too loose. Okay, so this conversation that's a continuation, right, throughout the whole year of what we've been doing with all teams, throughout the whole the first year from January on, we've had multiple meetings. And what I want to do today is kind of a three-part thing. We're going to quickly, since this is our last all teams of the year, we're going to do a quick review of what we've talked about, why we've talked about those things, and then we're going to move into a conversation that hopefully will help us begin to imagine ourselves from our neighbor's perspective. Okay? Whoever you're defining a neighbor in your head, whether that's physically the people that live in the building across the parking lot from us, or if that's the person who lives across the street from you. But particularly, I want you to, we're going to enter into a conversation about how to begin imagining ourselves from our neighbor's perspective. And then the last part of our time today is actually a twofold kind of blessing in the moment. We have representatives from the three organizations that are currently leasing space from us or just about to. One of them will start here at the end of the month. They're going to come up, share just a few words with you about their organization. And really the bulk of today is an open house. We're going to turn you all loose to go upstairs, see what all of the work throughout the year has really transformed into. So after they speak, I'm going to turn them all loose, and I'm going to take 5 more minutes with you all, and then we're going to all go up and kind of tour together the spaces. But then I'm literally going to turn you loose to go meet these folks, see the spaces, visit with them, and see what's happening upstairs in our education. Okay? All right, so first of all, we started this whole idea of an all-teams meeting on a quarterly basis with a very specific purpose in mind. We found that all of our teams were doing good work, but not really ever on the same train tracks, you know? It was like we were all headed to different destinations. That's, for a church our size, that might put out the most pressing need in that moment, but it doesn't actually help our church move in any one direction together. And so you've heard it talked about as like silo thinking. We are all operating in our own silos, doing our own thing. Nobody really knew what the other teams were doing, what they were about. Were we all headed the same direction or not? How would you know? We're never in communication with each other. So part of the purpose was legitimately to stop the traffic jams and to get us all to think less like we're all doing our own thing and it's all going to be okay, and more like we want to get think of ourselves as all crew on the same ship heading in the same direction, right? Which direction are we all heading, and try to get us on that page together. So that's been the goal. Bring you all in the same space just to share ideas, to think and dream together, and then to start putting into action and be able to reach across and see who else is here, who are the other leaders of the church, and begin actually sharing that together. You remember that in our first meeting, I think, we had the image of the stool with the legs. You remember the 4 legs that the church stands on. We talked very specifically about those being worship, outreach, fellowship, and the one that we asked you to focus on for that first quarter was education. How are we communicating internally to each other about what our team does, and how can our own internal communications help educate the rest of the teams, the rest of the church, as to where we're heading and what we think we're doing, right? What can we do to help benefit the church as a whole? So that's where we focused on our first quarterly meeting. Everybody remember that? Education. What was the second major focus? Anybody remember? F's. Did this pass-fail? You all got F's. No, I'm just kidding. Community was the third one. What was the second one? That's good, though. Yeah. No. She got a B. Myra passes, the rest of you fail. Just kidding. The second one we talked about was stewardship, but we specifically, do you remember, we specifically said not just your individual stewardship, not just the way you give to the church, your financial gifts, not just your energy, your talents, or your time and how you invest your energy in the church, but what about our corporate body? What does it mean to be a steward as a whole, as a church, not individuals within a church? So we started to examine very carefully what are the kinds of things we give our corporate resources together. What are we all doing together? How are we sharing those resources to serve our community? And specifically, what do we do with our building? You'll notice remember the conversation around Starry Night down on the lower right, and that famous painting that only the church's windows are dark. Every other window in that painting is lit up. And that was Van Gogh's theological interpretation of his experience of the church. You go out, there's this celestial ball happening overhead, the city's warm and lighted up, and the church looks cold and dead, right? My concern is that our neighbors go to work at 8 a.m., our building opens at 9, we close it at 4:30, they come home at 5:30, and all they ever see is a building with the lights on, right? That we are living into Van Gogh's image of what it means to be church. I don't think that has to be true, and I don't think it is true, but it is, again, as we lean into this conversation a minute, what our neighbors might be perceiving to be true, right? The only time we're open is on Sunday mornings when the cars roll in, and of course, that's the only time they see life out there, right? Well, we're trying to address that. So what we said was, our building was clearly built for a different era. Lots and lots of space, but many of those spaces were getting used less than 40 minutes a week. Less than 40 minutes a week. And so how do we begin to do that? We decided at that time we were going to start moving towards inviting people into our building to think of our space less like a monument, more like an instrument, to make it a way to serve our community. So we specifically wanted to invite organizations into our building that we felt like would add benefit and value to our wider community. People that are serving others in ways that maybe they won't get served at church. Maybe don't need to get served at church. It wasn't about growing the church. It was about serving neighbors, right? That was the goal, okay? So that was the second one. And Myra, as she already talked about, the third one, we talked about community, our internal. We talked specifically about the internal and external community and how healthy churches have to find the balance. We do need the kinds of things that build community internally. Fellowship times and potlucks and Sunday school classes, education opportunities, service opportunities, ways to take care of each other, to stay connected. But we also need to start thinking about our external community and who we are in relation to our neighborhood. We do that communication with more than just our words. This is a very familiar image, I think. What does that image communicate to you?
It's not handicap accessible.
It's not handicap accessible.
That's not all it indicates, but that's right.
Yeah?
Well, to me, a historical, beautiful, old door.
As an insider and internal in the community, historic, beautiful, old door.
Museum.
It's closed 90% of the time, maybe more.
It's not our primary entrance either, so it's not clear to people that don't come here every week that there's a
Right.
hardly anyone
Thank
through
you.
that door.
Yeah. Michelle just said it's not our primary door. How would anybody who's never been in our building know? Right. If you know to come on a regular weekday, you know to come where? The office doors. But even if I say the office doors and you aren't a regular here, who the heck knows where that is? Right? We have, if you were to go past the office doors, we have the atrium door, we have this door, we have the northwest corner door, and there's even another door on that corner upstairs. And I have watched people check every door trying to figure out how to get in this daggone place, exasperated, throw their hands in the air and go like, I guess it's just closed, I don't know. Right? We are communicating without meaning to. The difference between this kind of image and the exact, if my Wi-Fi works, and the exact same image with an open door, I would never put a closed door on my website. I'm just telling you right now. That would be a terrible idea, right? Where you're communicating unintentionally just by having a closed door. Beautiful or not at a church feels wrong to me. The other side of that, right? So Many of you were here last Sunday. Now, I am saying this, I'm telling this story because it was such a visual, visceral reminder, not because I'm being critical of our neighbors across the street, okay? So I want to be that very clear. We do the same thing all the time without thinking. We got done with worship. We said go in peace. We all exited the building, and what was happening across the street? Big old block party, right? Where was it happening? Behind a 10-foot wrought iron fence. Right? We could see it. Even the gate to the parking lot was closed. We could see it. We could hear it. I could smell the food cooking on the grill. It was abundantly clear to me, whether they meant to communicate that or not, that that party was only for church members, not for guests. Right? I think we're doing similar things unintentionally all the time. All the time. We had some guests back today who were members here in the 90s. And as I'm running out of the baptistry in my wet t-shirt and shorts back to my office to change, I saw them come to the double glass doors at the office and try to get in. Didn't do that. Walked down to rang the bell. There's nobody there to answer it, right? So they have to go on down, keep trying doors until they get there. We have a problem if we can begin to think like our neighbors and see it. We have to figure out how to not unintentionally communicate the message we don't mean to send, right? We have real challenges being a downtown church, don't we? We have safety issues. We have to keep the space safe. So how do we begin to manage the difference between a Sunday morning where the doors are open? If you were a guest on a Sunday morning, I intentionally walk through the entire church every Sunday morning before anybody else gets here, and I open every door that I possibly can, except for the external ones. But I make sure when someone walks in our building, they don't run into a hallway of closed doors. That's very confusing to somebody who might not know where they're at in the building. You walk in and you suddenly hit every door is either locked or closed. Doesn't feel inviting at all. I would rather run the bill up with the AC and the heat and make sure doors are open. Right? They're big symbols. Okay? So as we begin to think about that, one of the things we want to begin to think about as well is how our neighbors are now going to be in our building for purposes other than church. Right? We're going to go on a tour today. I'm going to invite our guests up in just a minute. We're going to go on a tour today. I'm going to point out to you a spot where there used to be, given by Barbara Graham in honor of Diana Saunders' mother, an angel in a stairwell. It's in a new place. It's in a new place. Diana's mother was very involved with children's education in the church, and it was given as this idea of the angel of Diana's mom was watching his kids, watching over kids still even after she's gone, right? Well, the kids don't meet upstairs anymore, one. Two, we now have 2 counseling services in our building, many of whom are coming through or getting counseling because of religious-related trauma, right? It's already hard enough to try and get them to come into a church to receive that counseling. So we want to be good neighbors and avoid unintentionally creating more strife or anxiety for them as they come into our space. So the angel's been relocated. You're going to see a little brown square on the wall where the plaque was that needs to get touched up with paint. It'll be obvious. It looks like a bullseye. That'll get touched up with paint in the next week or so. And that's how we're beginning to need to think, right? We're going to have people in our building who aren't here for church. They're here to be served by these other organizations. And our job is to be good hosts to them. Okay? All right. So, having said all of that, let me invite up, let's start with Rebecca Patterson. Rah, just come back. It's okay.
Oh, great. Good morning. Good morning. I am Rebecca Patterson, and I work at ESCO Psychotherapy. It used to be Southern Colorado Psychotherapy Services, and we decided that was a really long name, so we shortened it to ESCO Psychotherapy. Dr. Cheryl Downey is the owner of our agency. She's on the left side of the screen up there. She asked me to give her apologies for not being able to be here this morning. She actually had the chance to get away for a few days, which is a rare opportunity for her. And so I was also more than thrilled to be here to speak on our agency's behalf today. I do think we have the honor, privilege of being the longest tenant here at First Baptist. Dr. Downey found you guys in around 2010. And she asked me to share just a little bit of her story of finding First Baptist before I share a little bit more about what we do now. She was in a time of transition at that time and was looking to start a private practice and had also begun teaching counseling students at Colorado Christian University. And kind of like Pastor Dan was sharing, she was thinking strategically about what location would best serve clients, and where First Baptist is located is very strategic. She wanted to be downtown because people live and work down here, but they also come through here. You're right by the bus terminal. Clients that we serve are down here for other services, often meeting with other professionals. And so she was driving around down here looking for opportunities for potential places that we could find, or that she at that time could find an office space. And she really felt the Lord leading her to look for a church that she could partner with, because her hope was that there could be a mutual blessing and that sort of arrangement. And she said she remembered thinking, even if the amount of rent she paid could cover a Sunday school's donuts, she would love the opportunity to be able to have that kind of exchange. Not only that the money could go for something for the church's benefit, but that also then kind of the covering that we as an agency could receive in exchange would be a blessing for us. And then the location could be a blessing for our clients. And so she then also had this kind of idea in the back of her mind. She said, also, God, if possible, could it be a beautiful place too? Because so many places kind of in her mind were like that 70s, 80s church construction, kind of concrete building look. And when she saw First Baptist, she said, oh, it's amazing. So she called, basically a cold call, and the admin person at the time, before Amelia, was, I guess, familiar with that sort of arrangement at the church she had worked at previously. And so she became an advocate for Dr. Downey and really pushed for that opportunity. And so we've been here ever since. As luck would have it, Dr. Downey met me as she started working at Colorado Christian University. I was one of her first students, and so she brought me on to start working with her in 2013 when I graduated. So I've been here with her since then. And let me just pop over here to say, basically, since then we've grown. We have about 5 other women who also work with us here at ESCO. We offer a few different services. We work with clients, standing right in your way, aren't I? We offer therapy services. We work with youth. Oftentimes those are youth coming out of detention facilities, places like that, transitioning back to the community, figuring out who they are now as individuals. We work with families, adults, couples, and we also provide evaluation services. We work with probation departments and specialty treatment courts, like Veterans Treatment Court, places who say, hey, we want to know, are there mental health issues that would be better served in treatment than in jail? And so some of our work is saying, maybe there's a veteran who's got some mental health needs that have landed them in trouble with the law, but instead of sitting in jail, a therapist could really help them, and by doing evaluations, we help them identify those needs so they can get the services they need and hopefully heal rather than being further traumatized perhaps. And then we also do parental responsibility evaluations, which are like custody evaluations. And some of you may have seen, as recently as yesterday, those type of evaluations have been in the news because there are a lot of evaluators doing those very unethically. And so I think it's important to mention that that is part of the vision that Dr. Downey and the rest of us at ESCO have for the work that we do. We really strive to meet gaps and needs in the community, but to do so ethically and with a great degree of skill and with prayer. And so I think that's a unique way that we approach the field, and is part of the value we try to bring to our profession. And so I'll wrap up by saying part of what Dr. Downey mentioned to me as she was preparing our transition in offices upstairs, because we used to be in one office on one side upstairs, and then as all of the work has been happening, we're now in the 3 offices on the other side where I think Shazia's office used to be. As we were preparing for our transition, we were looking back at all of our files and the notes and things in our file cabinet and doing those clean outs as you do when you move. We were just looking back at how many people have come through our doors in the time that we've been here with you all at First Baptist. And the quantity of individuals whose lives have come through your doors because you were willing to partner with us is enormous. Hundreds of lives. And that's not only the clients, the youth, the families, the children whose families needed support, the clients that we've worked with. It's also the clinicians like myself, those of us working with Dr. Downey, who in our professional careers, Dr. Downey's brought under her wing and helped train us and prepare us to be counselors as well. And I think Dr. Downey and I both were just really struck at the home that you've provided for us to do that work. And so when you think about that, the church in Starry Night, I didn't know that was something that you guys had been discussing here as a church, but it really struck me just hearing you talk about it because you've really had your lights on for us and for our clients. And I believe that's something that our clients, as they then go about their lives, when they drive past First Baptist, that's something that they're going to remember. They're going to know, oh, that's where I've been, and receive support, receive help. So thank you for opening your doors to us. And I hope you appreciate and like what we've done with the space upstairs, because the work you have put into it, we're so grateful for it. It is lovely. We've tried to put some touches to make it, I don't know what to say, not to make it more ESCO, but the work you've done to create the space is beautiful. And we're so thankful. So please know that we'll continue to touch many more lives.
All right, thank you, Rebecca. How about Evelyn? Why don't you come on up? Evelyn is the executive director of the Thinkering Lab. Bob, are you coming too? Hey, all right, a twofer. Bob and Evelyn moved in with us this past summer, and I'll let them explain Thinkering Lab to you. I don't want to steal all the thunder here.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Evelyn. This is Bob. I feel like we're a comedy duo or something. And we are Thinkering Lab. We started Thinkering Lab about 3 years ago at a different church, at First Christian Church. As you know, they're selling their building. And so this summer, we didn't know if they'd still be there or not. So we found our way to First Baptist Church through FCC. Our elders met with your elders and Pastor Dan and sort of paved that way for us. And it has been wonderful. It's been just a lovely space and very kind, very helpful. The room itself is just way better than what we had. It's just, I don't know, it's just lovely. It's a good space. So we appreciate that. So I want to say that I'm a retired teacher, and Bob is a retired federal probation officer. After he retired from probation, he went into schools to be a resource officer. So we have extensive experiences working with children in schools, and upon our retirement decided that the community needed a place where children can go to sort of play and be free and have fun and make friends. And so we did this through Think Green Lab, and Think Green Lab is a portmanteau of thinking and tinkering, and that's pretty much it. It's a lot of creative play. You'll see when you go upstairs that we have a lot of materials that are called loose parts, and we collect things like toothpicks and buttons and pipe cleaners and cardboard scraps, and we put them together in jars, and we'll put them out on the table, and when children come in, they're able to tinker or mess with these materials. And what it does is it frees up their mind to think creatively about ways to use things. Maybe they'll build, or maybe they'll create art, or maybe they'll make a car. I mean, who knows? You never know what children are going to do. And so we thought that there was a need for a space where children can go and play, be creative, have fun, like I said, make friends. And so we thought of Think Green Lab. Our programming consists primarily of summer camps, and we are the noisy group up there, and I have to apologize. We try to keep children, reasonably quiet. There was one week where, wow, that was just really hard. But they're having fun and they're doing well, and we feel welcome even in the midst of children running up and down the halls. We try to keep that to a limit. But we have programs, camps that are along a theme for a week. So this summer, for example, we did Sew Fun, where we taught children to sew and weave. We did Olympic Camp, where we taught children about sportsmanship and the history of the Olympics, but also through play, where they had to make up games and activities that they participated in collaboratively and sometimes competitively. We did a robot camp. It was really a vacuum camp, and I'm going to tell you a story just as a way of illustrating kind of what we do and how we work with children. But we know a little boy who, okay, he's our grandson. He's 5, and he's always been fascinated, obsessed with vacuums, robot vacuums. He just loves them. He knows how they work. He's just amazing. So I decided.
He owns 6 of them already.
Yeah, he does. He just collects them. So I decided since he'll be 5, and we serve children 5 to 10. And since he was turning 5 and he was going to be able to attend our camp, I thought I'd make a vacuum camp for him. Really, it was a robot vacuum, that sort of thing. And we asked for a donation of a Roomba that was broken, that wasn't going to work, so that we could dissect it. And we were dissecting this vacuum, and he was really sad. He's like, I know it'll work. Let's not take it apart. I know it'll work. We're like, James, it's been out in the elements for months, for a year. This person told us for a year it hasn't worked. And so, but this vacuum can be used for us to learn about how they work and the different parts. So let's go ahead and let's dissect this vacuum. So the way that you dissect something is that you take it apart and then lay it down and label the parts. So there's some sort of order to it. Well, one time he's 5, and there was a 6-year-old in this camp. They decided that they just couldn't imagine that this vacuum wasn't going to work. So during free play, Bob and I were doing other things and helping other kids or whatever. They had put all the parts back together. They worked it, because remember, it was in order, and they worked it back together, and the vacuum worked. He was so happy. Anyway, and he has it at home now. We left it at home.
Number 7.
But this is what we try to do. We try to make the space for kids to, 1, follow their interests, and then 2, and their passions, and then 2, learn in ways that I think will contribute to their own well-being, but also intellectually, their whole child, intellectually, spiritually, physically, yes. Just tending to the whole child. And our big theme really is just creative play. So I'm looking forward to all of you coming up and visiting us. Please stop by if you have any questions. We're both here to help you. And did I answer everything? Okay. Oh yeah, we're starting after school care as well. And fall break and school break camps as well. So, thank you.
All right. I need you all to forget the Roomba story because that's going to show up in a sermon somewhere at some point. I'm going to use that one. All right. Our last tenant we're going to hear from is we'll be starting here at the end of the month. In fact, we'll be starting to move in a week from tomorrow. Her name is Tammy Bach, and she's the executive director of Bristlecone Family Counseling. And so I'm going to ask her to come on up for just a second.
So I had no idea that I was speaking today. I'm really glad that I came prepared anyway. So the pictures that you see up here, some of them are from my current Colorado Springs office. Most of them are from our Woodland Park office, where I rent from another church. So it was kind of providential. We were kind of, I just thought, I think I'd like to look for a new space. There were some things going on in the office that we had. There were basically a lot of dogs coming in and out. And there's no dog businesses there. But there's just, a lot of people and their clients bringing in a lot of little yappy dogs. And I have a lot of clients who have fears of dogs. And so I thought, this is not very calming anymore. I'm going to put some feelers out. And I think I put out 2 whole feelers. And the second feeler worked out, and I was like, this is really cool. This is really impressive. So I'm really glad to be here. But nobody understands really what play therapy is about, and that's what we are about. So Bristlecone Family Counseling, I started, when did I start? 2017 is when I started my practice. Worked in community mental health from about 2008 or 9 up till, was it 2017? Something like that. I'm older. I have 4 grandchildren, so I'm allowed to not have all my marbles together sometimes. I've been saying that since I was pregnant with the first one. All right, so I'm going to hand this back to you. Oh, hold on. I have to make sure that there we go. I'll let you hold that for a little bit. But I'm going to put you on the spot at some point in time. And then you're going to hand it to another table. And I'm going to put somebody else on the spot at a certain point in time. All right, so I work with a lot of Medicaid clients, and we do play therapy. I'm a licensed professional counselor, registered play therapist supervisor. Those are 2 separate credentialings, registered play therapist, and then the supervisor part you have to do. Become a registered play therapist, and then get a few hundred hours of continuing education, and then an approved clinical supervisor. So I have interns. Typically, I don't have any interns right now. And I love taking students and working with them while they're in their internship. I don't care if you're going to come work for me or if you're going to go fly somewhere else. Tell me what you want to do, and I will give you as many tools as I possibly can and hook you up with the right connections so that you can do what you feel that's your calling. That is a sand tray right there. And when we fly back to another picture of that, there you go. That's a sand tray. So play therapy is, and that's basically from ages 2 through 18. And I use play therapy techniques with adults as well, including doing sand tray work. So play therapy is largely based off of metaphor. So the metaphor of the Van Gogh painting with the windows that are dark, and Van Gogh was showing everybody else, this is what my spirituality, religion, the church, this is how it looks to me, which is very telling. So now I'm going to put you on the spot. Oh, you're Dan's wife.
Yes.
Okay, I just figured this out. Well, I was telling somebody else, it's really nice when you marry the proper people, right? Have you ever walked up to somebody and you assume that it's the husband or the wife, and then you're like, whoa, I'm so sorry. Anyways, all right. So, what color do you have in that ball?
It's like a clementine orange.
A clementine orange, she says. What emotion would you put?
It's like a warm, cuddly feeling. I don't know.
Okay, so what's a warm, cuddly feeling that would match a clementine color?
Comfort?
Okay, that's okay. That's all right. All right, so I'm going to take that from you. Would you like to point out who's going to get it
You
from
put
this
it at the
table?
table, anybody that, yeah.
I'm going to give it to you. Look at that! It kind of matches your shirt, sort of. All right, so what color do you have?
It's a dark pink violet.
A dark pink violet. What emotion would you associate with dark pink or violet?
I like the color, so probably still a good feeling.
Okay.
Warm and comfortable.
So, happiness maybe?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Good news.
There we go. Would somebody like to pick this color, this emotion for me? Oh, somebody's being volunteered. You want to hold it? You can come hold it. Come on. Go ahead.
Oh, it's nice. An emotion for this?
Yeah.
Shoot, I'd say relief, maybe?
Okay.
Healing?
Yeah. Relief is a good feeling, yeah. All right, so, yeah, thank you for all my great volunteers. Let me turn this off here. I didn't turn it off, but you're saved. I'm not going to make you pick an emotion.
It matches your shirt.
I know. I do wish that you could touch it and make it.
It matches your shirt, Gary.
Yeah, it is. There we go. It somehow knows. Typically, though, that is hooked up to the internet, and on my phone, I can have kids come in and pick out the emotion that they're feeling. Pick out the color that you're feeling. And this, like when I push the button, there's about 4 or 5 different kinds of colors. But on my phone, you can make it like pastel pink, you can make it ballet pink, you can make it hot pink, you can do whatever you want to with it. So that is a tool that we utilize to help people, help kiddos get in touch with their emotions. Funny thing is when you're a play therapist and you have cool stuff, grown-ups want to touch it too. So this is my lobby in Woodland Park. This is my big playroom. If you see that tall white thing off to the right, that is called a punching bag. And I swear, you can really attack it and it is not going to blow up. Pretty expensive. I think I spent like $300 on that thing. But it works, and kiddos can, teenagers, they draw, if they have an offender, they can draw their offender. They can draw body parts. Some of these body parts get really intimate because bad things have been done to them, and then they punch the daylights out of it. All right, so we work with a high degree of Medicaid clients. Most of our clients are Medicaid. We work with adults and kiddos, but probably 75% of our caseload is with minors. Work with DHS cases. I'm on the referral list for Safe Passage, which is the county's forensic evaluator. So anyways, so yeah, that's what Bristlecone Family Counseling is about. I have one employee. Her name is Caitlin. She's a former intern. She's amazing. I recently had back surgery at the beginning of June, and was out for 6 or 7 weeks. And Caitlin was completely in charge, and it was like wonderful to have somebody like that on your team. So I will meet you guys upstairs, and I'm going to see my new room soon, and you get to see my new room with me. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to turn all of our different tenants loose to go get ready and get their space set, and then we're going to stay here for about 5 more minutes, and then we're going to turn our attention that direction as well. Let's say thank you to all those folks one more time. Oh well. Okay. So it's not worth it. Not worth it. Thank you. As we begin to regroup here in just a minute, the one thing we need to do is to begin to kind of imagine what the road looks like going forward, right? This isn't the end, if that makes sense. We know that there's still more work to do. Last time we met, we talked about community. Remember, one of the questions was what kind of gaps exist, both internally and externally, as we think about how we balance that care for our community, the internal and external community, what gaps existed. We know a lot of those gaps still exist. We still got to figure out what to do as it relates to discipleship for our younger families and younger adults. There's a gap there. There's still a gap on how we begin to address the fact that we have almost no presence online, right? But this year, we decided that the big goal was thinking about stewardship of space. And I have been just blown away with the church's willingness to lean into that and to help make that a real priority as we've begun to do that work. And a lot of folks have given a lot of time behind the scenes that you don't know, right? There's been painting done, flooring laid, moving of furniture, clearing out of rooms, moving stuff to one room to have to move it to another room, to move it back to this room when that room was ready. It's been a lot of work behind the scenes. And so we're really thankful for all of that. I know many folks are eager to know something about First Christian Church. Bob and Evelyn are members there, but they don't. I generally have more information than they do. And I can tell you, I know almost nothing since the last time we talked about this. They are still in the process of trying to sell the building. And so basically what my understanding is until they actually are under contract with that, they won't be ready to really move forward in further conversation until that's in place. They plan on living in the building until it's under contract, and then even taking a loan against the profits, the future profits of the building, to stay in it until then. That is the extent of what I know. I thought I would see their pastor last week. She had just had some surgery, and so was out of pocket, wasn't at Muskrat's last week, so I did not get any new information. But we are still imagining that there's a possibility that they're going to move in with us. We're just kind of in holding pattern right now. It feels a little bit like limbo. So when we go upstairs here in just a minute, I want us to all meet. We're going to go up this hallway and those stairs, or you're going to take the elevator and you're going to meet me where the old library used to be, okay? So that's the plan. We do have our next all teams meeting already on the calendar for those of you who still plan to be on ministry teams next year. It'll be in January. We'll make sure you get that update soon. I can't remember off the top of my head what that date is, but we'll make sure you have it. And we'll pick back up. Today is about celebrating and learning and seeing what's come so far. Next time we'll pick back up and we'll start pressing forward again, okay? All right, so meet me in the library. Whether you take the elevator or follow me up the stairs, meet me in the old library.
And yeah, it's the 19th of January.
19th of January is the next all teams. 19th of January. Thank you.